Hello, hello. Good afternoon, and welcome to Tea Time Tuesday. I'm Patrick Brown, your host for today, Executive Director here at the Renewal Center. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. I hope that you are enjoying your morning so far, wherever you're calling from, or wherever you're tuning in from. How's it going? And welcome again to the Renewal Center's Tea Time Tuesday, where we pause, reset, and build resilience. Excited about having all of you on today. Let me know if you're out there. Go ahead and hashtag Tea Time. All right, hashtag Tea Time, where we pause, reset, and build resilience. I'm excited about having all of you on today. Go ahead and let's get the likes up, everybody. Let's get the likes up so we can connect, share the link with others so that we can engage in a renewal practice today. So it's good to see everyone. Hello, Renita. How you doing? All right, good to see you out there. Hello, hello, everyone. Make sure you grab your journals. Make sure you also grab your tea. All right, I'm doing chai tea today. So just excited about being able to come on today and engage in an incredible renewal practice. So welcome to August, everybody. Welcome to August. And I'm grateful to be able to engage you in renewal practices today. Our focus for today in our tea time specifically is going to be about well-being, from wellness to well-being, and rethinking flourishing in the future of work. It's rethinking flourishing in the future of work and how we shift from wellness to well being. And what does that mean to us as we're in our jobs from day to day? What are we doing to ensure that we're taking care of our core well being? So if you're in the comments, go ahead and put in the word well being in the comments and let me know that you're ready to engage. But before we do that, I want to share with you our tea of the week. And our tea of the week is lavender tea. I really like lavender tea. Main reason I like lavender tea is because it is a relaxing tea. I tell you, it has an incredible, it's known for its calming and relaxing effects. It helps reduce stress and anxiety. All right. So it's actually has properties that helps promote sleep and calm before bed. So this is really good to have some lavender tea before you rest or take a nap. It does have anti-inflammatory effects and antioxidant properties as well. So this is one of those incredibly good teas. I think it's good for your health. And so we're going to focus on that. This tea time. All right. Let me know what your tea of choice is. All right. I'm doing my chai tea today. What is your tea of choice this afternoon as we engage our renewal practices for the day? And in the comments, go ahead and hashtag well-being, well-being. So good to see everybody. Hello, Sharon. Good to have you on. Hello, Anisi. How are you? Good to have you on today. Good to see you. All right. Well-being, everybody. Well-being, well-being. That's going to be our focus for today. And what is your tea of choice? Your refreshing beverage of choice. Okay, Renita has water. I've got my chai tea today. And so make sure you grab your journals and grab your tea so we can engage in our renewal practices for today. So excited about having you all on. Let me know that you're out there and that you're connecting. All right. Turmeric, ginger, and black pepper. Wow, I haven't had that combination. That's interesting. All right. I have to try that. All right. Anybody else? What is your tea of choice today? We got water, we got turmeric, ginger, and black pepper. All right. And before we go forward, again, I want to welcome everyone again to the Renewal Center's Tea Time Tuesday, where we pause, reset, and build resilience. Hello, Hope. Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon. Good to have you on today. Also, okay, Sharon says green juice blend. All right, green juice blend, healthy. All right, all this wellness today. So, as we think about our renewed practices today, we're going to emphasize well being and rethinking flourishing in the future of work. We have a lot of schedules, we've got back to back meetings, we engage in a lot of different activities. And we want to consider, since we spend a lot of our time in our jobs, in our work, how committed are we, not only just us as individuals, but perhaps our departments, if you're a lead, how do you engage in well-being within the context of the work that you do? So that's the discussion today. But before we do that, let's go ahead and locate ourselves. Find a good posture, if you will, a good posture. And let's take a moment to just pause and let's do some breathing exercises. Let's calm ourselves. Let's make sure we get our grounding and we center ourselves. And then once we're finished with that, we will start with our renewal practices. All right. So let's just go ahead and center ourselves. Let's locate ourselves. Let's ground ourselves for a few moments and then we'll start again. Please make sure you get the likes up and you share as well. All right. How was that for you? Thank you for joining me and locating yourself. And so let's get started in our renewal practices today. I want to emphasize 5 areas of well being, but in the context of what I would call a routine reset, and think through different habits to help us reset in our work and in the jobs that we have from day to day. I'd like you to, if you don't mind, in the comments, what is one point of stress in the work that you do? What's a point of stress or tension in the work that you do, in your world of work, in the context of what you do? If you don't mind being open with me today and provide us, give us some feedback on what are some of your pain points or stress factors or tension areas in your job or your type of career that you have. All right. Soursop tea. Okay. Thank you, Hope. I'd like to hear from you. And one of the things that we want to focus on is how do we reset our routines with well-being, an emphasis on well-being. How do we reset that? And what are some practices that we need to do in order for us to be able to routine reset? But I'd like to hear from you. What are some of the stress factors or pain points or tension areas in your work or in your type of career? And we're going to work on some routine resets to help you mentally thrive, how you can thrive through those areas. Hey, Carmela, good to see you. Good afternoon. So I want us to emphasize that today. And what I'd like to cover for us today are 5 areas as it relates to well-being. We've got the wheel of wellness, right? I want to emphasize the actual dimensions of well-being specifically. And then there are some questions that you want to ask yourself as it relates to these particular 5 dimensions of well-being. And what does that look like to you? How does that in the work that you're doing? And then we'll dig into some potential what we emphasize how to mentally thrive in that space. All right. That's what we're going to focus on today. But I'd like to hear from you. What are some of the stress factors, the pain points, the tension areas in your world of work, in your field, in your career, in your area? And then we'll go through these particular dimensions and in best ways to emphasize how we can flourish in our well-being in the work that we're doing. Okay. So I want to start off with that. And then as you provide feedback to me, then there are ways we can continue to emphasize how to rethink well-being in the work that we do. All right. How do we improve in that space? All right. So Renita is saying to us today, stressors, meeting deadlines, and also addressing multiple student mental crises in a short amount of time. It's the nature of the job, can be overwhelming at times. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else, when you think about stressors and stress factors and tension points in your world of work, because you're there 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours, sometimes after hours, before hours, right? And I think it's important that we look at that. So I'd like you to write down 5 questions that relate to our 5 dimensions of well-being. So when we think about career, go ahead and write down that. And sorry, it has 2 physicals. It should say career. So I apologize for that. Career, it should be career, social, emotional, physical, and economic, right? Financial, economic. And then also when we think about social, we think about community. So I want us to think through that. So everybody in the comments, let me just type these out for us so we can engage. So we're thinking about career areas, career, social, financial, community, and then physical. So those will be the 5 areas that we want to emphasize when we think about pillars at the foundation of it when it comes to our jobs and the work that we do. So if you write down the word career and you think about career, the question is, do you like what you do and how you occupy your time? Do you like what you do and how you occupy your time? And I really want you to think about that. So why would we ask that kind of question? that helps us with our mindset to find joy in what we do when it becomes monotonous. So, do you like what you do? It's important that we ask a career well being question. One of the reasons why we want to address that and ask that type of question is that's going to help us unpack and unfold what our mindset is towards the work that we do. And again, we're talking about routine reset. And so the business of wellness is an incredible $1 billion industry, especially in the United States market. And although there's a wellness trend, uh, is there really well-being in your work, in your job? And I really want you to think about the work that you do on a day-to-day basis. How is well-being integrated within your job, in your company, in your organization, where you work, in that building, in that office space, whether it's home or whether it's on site? What is the well-being emphasis in your work? Because well-being is dynamic, well-being is holistic. And so when we think about well-being, not just static and physical, we're talking about well-being that is dynamic. It is a constant part of who you are, and it's holistic, it's overall, it's overarching. And so when we think about that, we want to make sure that we ensure that we're not in a space where we're static with our wellness, but it's ongoing in our well-being. So it's a dynamic, it's a constant movement. And so we're looking at it from a career perspective, a physical perspective, an emotional perspective, from an economic or financial perspective, and lastly, of course, community. All right. Because if you're not well, you can't show up in your work. And if your workplace does not emphasize well being, then that hinders you as a strategic asset in a human centered enterprise. So, connectedness and well being are foundational for your culture to thrive in the work that you do. And so, we want to emphasize how do we use our work as a platform for well being? Does your workplace enhance your quality of life? Really think about that. Does my workplace enhance my quality of life? And if it does not, then what can I do differently to ensure that I'm creating an atmosphere that helps enhance my quality of life? So only got one response from Renita. Anybody else? What are some of your stressors, some of your stress factors or tension areas that may be impacting the work that you do? I hope this subject makes sense to you, because this is really about wellness and well-being and how we engage on a day-to-day basis. All right. So again, when we think about career, what we're thinking about in terms of career is, do you like what you do, and how you occupy your time, and really sitting with that and asking that question about wellness in the context of the work. Does my workplace enhance my quality of life? Does it embed meaning and respect and social cohesion and everyday practices in the work that I'm doing? And so I want to give you just a few approaches that I think will be helpful, to help you in the work that you're doing. And then we can work on practical application. All right. So let's talk a little bit about how do we reset our routines? How do we reset our routines? In the comments, go ahead and put the word reset routine. Reset routine. And when we think about resetting routine, the whole purpose of resetting our routine is about, sometimes our routines are outdated, they're exhausting, they no longer fit our particular needs. And so as a result of that, we need to reset our routines and how we engage on a minute by minute or hour by hour basis in the work that we're doing. So reset routine. That's going to help us combat stress and anxiety. That's going to help us boost our focus and our productivity, even our sleep quality. That's important. And of course, we know that it increases awareness when we're learning to reset and prioritize well-being in the work that we do. I'm going to give you a few of those in what I would call our mental well-being toolkit in our work that we do. And so number one is that we're going to listen to our bodies. Listen to our bodies. All right. That is important. Listening to our bodies. Each of us is wired differently. We're all wired differently. And so you want to listen to your body. We're all wired differently. Some of us thrive early in the morning, whereas others flourish at night. So you want to make sure that you listen to your body and make a routine that complements your natural rhythm so that it complements your energy level. For example, let's just say you're a night owl. Don't force yourself to work out at 6 a.m. or do an essential task at 7 a.m. if you're a night owl type of person, because all of us are wired differently. We got to listen to our bodies if we're going to reset our routines. What does your body say to you? How is it speaking to you? Some thrive early in the morning, others flourish more at night. So you want to make sure that you look at your routine, all right? Look at your routine, and I want you to think through, how does your routine complement your natural rhythm? How does it complement your natural rhythm? Or are you all over the place? You're a night person and you're a morning person. You're an afterburning person. Here's a practical example. When it's time for you to create an idea or a working session, when you listen to your body, you know when you best thrive. So in other words, when you're working with people, hey, I'm at my best ideas at this particular time. So in other words, don't schedule a working session to create ideas at 2 p.m. in the afternoon because I'm tanking, because you know your body. Or if you're a person that says, I'd like to really get started in ideation in the mornings, or if you're a person that needs to ramp up and say, that's probably not the best time for me in the morning, maybe more towards 11, around that time frame, right before noon starts to kick in, is when I'm ready to engage in more creative, collaborative efforts. But it's important to find a routine that complements your natural rhythm. So listen to your body. That's an important principle in resetting. All right. When we think about our careers and we think about, do you like what you do and how you occupy your time, you want to listen to your body and make sure that that routine complements your natural rhythm. All right. Let's keep going. So that was number one. Listen to your body. Number two, incorporate relaxation into your schedule. Incorporate relaxation into your day-to-day schedule. Now, I know somebody's probably thinking, how do you expect me to achieve that with how busy my job is? Right? How do I actually incorporate relaxation into your schedule? Well, the question is, have you really tried it? How do you do that? Because you'll feel inevitably overwhelmed and stressed out from time to time. And so, sometimes you just cannot control the strain, but you can control how you respond to it. So, how do you incorporate relaxation into your current schedule? And I'm talking about when you're at work. This is creative now. I want you to think about this from a creative perspective. One way is tea time on Tuesday. This is actually relaxing for me. I take time to pause, to reset, to build resilience, to engage in community, where I'm engaged in resilience with you, with others in our tea time community. So I want you to think about where you are right now and what are you doing on a day-to-day basis in your job that you incorporate relaxation into your schedule. How are you doing it? When are you doing this? When are you incorporating relaxation into your schedule? How are you doing this? That helps you on a day-to-day basis, specific techniques that work for you, as long as you incorporate it into your daily schedule. All right. So first thing is what? Listen to your body. All right. You need to know where your stress factors are in your body. Listen to it so that you can make sure your routine complements your natural rhythms. Then secondly would be, how do I incorporate relaxation into my daily schedule in my job? And start off with one day and see how that, and then document it and track how you're doing in incorporating relaxation into your schedule. All right, number 3, let's keep going. Embrace movement. Embrace movement. So the first one was what? Listen to your body. Number 2 was incorporate relaxation into your schedule. Number 3 here is to embrace movement. Oh, Sharon has a comment here. It says, working through a staff performance concern to correct and resolve the concern to achieve the desired outcome as it impacts the team. Yes, that can be a stress factor. All right, thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Renita, for your comments concerning the areas in your job. And one of the things I want to encourage you is find a space. How do you listen to your body, right? How do you incorporate certain ways of relaxation in the work that you do, right? And then think through ways of how do you embrace movement, which is number 3. We know that a nice workout can really boost us, right? A good workout, a good walk. So I want us to think about ways that you can embrace movement. One way of doing that is during your workday, make sure you stretch at your desk every hour if you're sitting at your desk, and be very intentional about stretching while you're at work. Different ways to help you improve your mood. It releases certain endorphins that help you when you're stretching. So how do we embrace movement? There are different ways to embrace movement, but when you're in your job, especially if you're sitting at a desk consistently, and you might be walking throughout your day, but really stretching at your desk every hour. And if you need to put it in your Outlook and say, oh, and it pops up stretch time or hydration time or something like that to make sure you stay hydrated or make sure that you're consistent in your stretching, that might be helpful. Put it in your phone or put it into your laptop if you're working on that to make sure that you have a consistency of how you are embracing movement. All right. So that's important that you embrace movement and stretching at your desk every hour when you're at work. And that also might mean, you don't have to, of course, I encourage people to work out vigorously if they can, but I do think that a routine during our day is important. A routine in our day of stretching, all right? A routine of making sure we do that at each hour that we're stretching, and we're making sure that we're taking care of ourselves by how we move. That is important. And again, this is about how we engage us in our jobs. Now, I think it's also important. Another one is, what rituals do you have in your team meetings? What rituals do you have? Is well-being involved with the rituals in your team? Or do just everybody just come to work, we just work, and then we don't think about that? That doesn't come up in the dialogue. So let's think about, how do we communicate effectively or build a culture in our work that includes well-being at the core, the way we start meetings? Do we just go right into the agenda every single time? Or is there a well-being reset at least once or twice during the week where we concentrate on practices and we model that as a leader, where here's how I'm going to model well-being as the lead on this team? Or even if I'm not the lead on my team, I participate. Perhaps there's some suggestions we can add to the work that we do that fosters an environment of well-being. Okay? Are you out there, tea timers? Let me know. Let's get the likes up. Let's get the engagement up. Is this helpful? Is this making sense to you? Is this something that you can apply to the work that you're doing? All right. Again, I want to make sure that we're thinking through this as a practice relating to how do we build and foster a culture of well-being, even in some of our work. That would be helpful to be able to do that. All right, let's keep going. A few more. So we talked about rituals in our meetings. Rituals in our meetings. That's important. I would also say we need to think about how to identify the most important tasks. identifying the most important task. What does that mean when we say identifying the most important tasks? That is about considering what's urgent. Urgency is really subjective. All right. You have someone who says, well, is this urgent? This is something that I need to immediately get done. And so sometimes people move with urgency and it creates more stress factors. So you want to identify the most important task. There's an old book I read called The Tyranny of the Urgent. And that is the foundation for the quadrant about living in importance, but not urgent. So you want to consider urgency and, and how do you actually consider what's urgent? Do you have a system or an approach of what you consider to be urgent versus what is important, and then evaluating the effort, like which tasks require the most energy and the most time? So make sure that you implement some type of prioritization framework, whatever works for you. There are different methods. The 1-3-5 rule each day: 1 task, 3 medium tasks, 5 small tasks. I think that's called 1-3-5. I can't remember, but it was an old way of how do we actually, and of course the Eisenhower matrix, which is the 4 quadrants. You've got that. You've got the 1-3-5 rule, right? Here's 1 big task I want to get done. Here are 3 medium tasks. Here are 5 small tasks or action items. And we prioritize. But it's important, if you're going to identify your most important task, you want to use a prioritization framework that helps you consider the urgency. It helps you assess the importance. Well, Patrick, what does this have to do with well-being? Well, that's integrated through our career, through our social, through our financial, through our physical, through our community. All those things are part of the pillars of well-being in the context of our careers. And start working on that in the work that you do, whether you're leading a nonprofit, whether you're a small business owner, whether you work within a school system, a nonprofit organization, whether you're working in a corporate context. It's important to identify the most important tasks, consider the urgency, assess important, and evaluate the effort so you can use a prioritization framework that helps you. So we've gone through a couple of approaches. One, we started out with what? Listening to your body. Making sure you're listening what's going on physically. Incorporating relaxation into your schedule. Part of that could be how do you know when to relax during your day? Reducing stress, improving your mood, achieving a state of calm somewhere during your day. All right. And I'm not talking about after you log off, but throughout your day. Then we talked about embracing movement. In the work that we do, it could be stretching. Make sure you're stretching at your desk every hour, right? That you're stretching every hour, that you're hydrating as often as possible. And if you need to time it and actually put it in your schedule, then go ahead and put it in your schedule so you can develop that consistency and that accountability to embrace movement. Also, another one is, of course, prioritizing by identifying the most important tasks, which we just talked about. What is considered urgent, assessing the importance, and evaluating the effort using different prioritization frameworks. Those are important. Let me give you one more, and maybe even 2 more, because I got a couple of more I want to talk about. We talked about considering energy levels, but I want you to get this one down, and I want you to write down the word create a visual system. Create a visual system. All right, you're there. All right, thank you. Want to make sure we're out here. Hi, Darlene. How are you? Yes, engage in other ways in team meetings. Thank you. Thank you for the feedback. So again, I want us to get this down. Here's another way that we can improve the 5 pillars of our well-being in the work that we do is creating a visual system using different colors or symbols that high on the priority list. I have that in one of my planners. I still use a physical planner. And one of the things that I do when it comes to prioritization is I do have a color code system. This works for me, may not work for everyone else, but there are times that you can create a particular color system. You can do it in Outlook. You can do it in the types of meetings. Like I have red, meetings are high priority and working sessions. I use green for Patrick time. It's actually in my Outlook. When I have one-on-ones and connects, that's purple. And the reason why is that those particular colors help me set my focus because I constantly am meeting with people. And then I have an orange time, which is more down and development time, since that's my favorite color. I was like, I'll use orange for that, right? And that becomes my time of warmth, my time of just me. I step away during that time so that I won't be back to back to back in the work that I'm doing. So that's how my visual system works. And when I do that for me, it helps me visualize it. Not only am I seeing it, I'm actually organizing it, and my mind is processing that. And even sometimes setting time blocks. Like if you know you need to generate something creative, and if you're more creative in the morning or evening or afternoon or what have you, set a block of time so that you can set time blocks for your creativity. If there's a task you want to finish and you know, I get better ideas at 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. or maybe it's 2 o'clock. All right, maybe it's later in the evening and you can put it off, plan it off until a little bit later. Breaking down large tasks and setting time blocks is helpful because creating a visual system reinforces your discipline. And it reinforces the fact that you're taking control over your well-being. And then my last point for today in our renewal practice is practice single tasking, not multitasking. Put that in the comments, everybody. Single tasking. Practice single tasking. Sometimes people call it swivel chair. You know, doing this. And, you know, okay, no. Like if you're on a call and somebody else is trying to ping you, concentrate on the person that you're meeting. Concentrate on what's in front of you. All right? These are important areas that I think this is about well-being and productivity types of areas. That's right, single tasking. Good, I'm glad you like the idea of color coding. Thank you for sharing that. Single tasking. Go ahead, everybody, put in the comments, single tasking. We want to ensure that we practice single tasking. And why would we want to do that? Why would we want to practice single tasking? Focus on one task at a time. We've lived in a world where we're full of constant distractions. Phones going off, something else is going off, your system of pings and instant messengers, that's going off. Focus on one task at a time. Single tasking, that's essential. So I want all of you for the month of August to resist the temptation to multitask. Is that fair? You're like, no, we're not going to do that. I want you to think about ways that you can resist that temptation to multitask and just do a whole bunch of things just because you think you can. All right? It's important that we're able to do that. Single tasking is critical. Focus on one task at a time, and that helps you remove distractions. All right? That helps you ensure that there are few interruptions and that your work environment is focused. So last month we took a lot of time to develop. We were in mental health awareness activities. We did a lot of journaling and did a lot of exercises. I had a lot of engagement in that space. I want us to think about now how we're going to emphasize the pillars of our well-being. And so today's renewal practice was about routine resets. Routine resets and help us flourish in our well-being in the future of our work, especially when we have a lot of fast-moving, whitewater, fast-paced type of rapid engagement. How are we going to help us maintain a focus on our well-being? We're going to listen to our bodies. We're going to incorporate relaxation into our schedules. We're going to embrace movement, that's stretching at your desk and hydrating. We're going to emphasize the importance of prioritizing by identifying the most important tasks, using some type of framework for prioritization, creating a visual system that works for us different colors, different symbols, breaking down the large tasks and setting time blocks. And then lastly, practice single tasking. Single tasking. Focus on one task at a time. Like right now, my task is this, my renewal practice. It's not about answering my phone. It's not responding to a text. It's not about this time. It's dedicated to one thing, and that is pausing and resetting and building resilience. And that's what this is about. Removing your distractions. All right. Practicing single tasking is a tough one. It makes sense for me, for sure. Excuse me. I really try. Good. Thank you, Renita, for answering that. Thank you for your engagement. All right, folks. Well, that wraps up our tea time for today. We're at time. Before we go, please let me know what are some of your takeaways. Please get the likes up. Please share this with others. If those of you that are watching this in our replay, like to hear from you, we'd like to hear from you at the Renewal Center. Please engage with us and let us know how this renewal practice today, which was about from wellness to well-being, rethinking, flourishing in the future of work. And we talked about reset routines so that we can be more effective in the work that we do. So thank you for participating with us this week. I'm going to give you a few announcements before we close out, and please make sure in the comments, let us know what your takeaways are. I want to share with you that we do have our Renewal Summer Prayer coming up, all right, August 13th at 7:30. That's next Wednesday. We'd like you to participate and be a part of it. That is our last Renewal Summer Prayer for the summer. We started off in June and July, and we have it August 13th. There's Zoom ID and the password for that. Also, each and every Friday morning at 6:30 a.m., we have a Renewal Center morning prayer. It's been going on since April. It's been incredible. Also, this is good for wellness as well. You don't have to come on camera. Just meditate, allow prayer, communication with God, centering yourself in the morning with a community of faith. And so that's the Zoom number there and the password, the ID for that. So we'd love to see you there each and every Friday morning at 6:30 a.m. Also, to remind you, every Sunday we have our New You Digital Discipleship. Please feel free to download our mobile app. Also, go to our website, renewalcenters.com, or our social media, Facebook and Instagram, and you can register to the Zoom. Invite somebody with you. Please fellowship with us. If you're not somewhere and you say, I want to be connected, this is one way you can connect with us in the New You in our digital discipleship each and every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'd love to have you be a part of what we're doing. And of course, each and every time we have our New You digital discipleship, we also have on Tuesdays our Tea Time Tuesday. And so thank you for setting time to be with us today. Each first and second, third Tuesdays at 12 and our fourth Tuesdays at 7 p.m. If this has been a strength to you and it's added value to you, we hope to see you next Tuesday, all right, for our next Tea Time Tuesday. And also, if you'd like to support the Renewal Center, we are a nonprofit community, and we exist and are sustained by giving. And so we want to thank you for considering us today. These are the ways you can partner with the Renewal Center to help us grow in our vision, our mission, and in our programming. You can give through the various ways. If you haven't had an opportunity, this is a time for you to pause and consider us. You can give through the renewalcenters.com/give. You can text the Renewal Center to the 888 number there. We have PayPal and we have Zelle, which is the Renewal Center 2020 at Gmail. We have Venmo, which is at Renewal Center. And then our Cash App is #Renewal Center. You can also mail a check or money order to the P.O. Box 1381, Concord, North Carolina 28026. Thank you so much for participating and partnering with us. I'd like you to really prayerfully consider being a partner with the Renewal Center, whether it's monthly or every other month, or say, hey, I just want to just support what you're doing. And if you're part of the Tea Time community, I want you to think about supporting us on a regular basis and being part of our community, helping us achieve our vision and our goals here at the RC. All right, everyone. Well, let's see what takeaways we have here today. All right, takeaway. I must listen to my body. Thank you for that, Renita. All right. Hey, Carmela. That's right. I am Renewal. I am Renewal. Sharon, what is your takeaway? Consistently working relaxation into my workday, as this is important to my overall well being. Thank you for your feedback and your sharing. Anybody else want to share any takeaways? Please feel free to share those. My takeaway in terms of well being really is more about making sure, as I'm new to certain roles that I'm in, is make sure I model well being. And how do I do that? Pausing, resetting in my day. All right. There's different things that I'm doing right now to make sure that I guard my time. And also, I'm focusing more on when I'm best at when it comes to working sessions, which for me are more in the morning or really, really late. Those are the two times I don't do well, like 2 o'clock. I'm like, oh, okay, that's not the time to schedule a working session for me. But these are important things that we wanted to talk about today as we reset our routine in terms of how we manage our time. And I want everybody here to do single tasking in the month of August, one task at a time. Is that fair, everybody? You're going to work on single tasking? Let's do that so we can concentrate on being all there, fully, physically, emotionally, mentally present in that one task, and then switch. All right? That'll help you with how you deal with what's urgent or what's important. And that's part of our well-being development. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your engagement. I hope that there's been some takeaways that are a strength to you. And I hope that you have a very good day. And as we say, let's take care of each other. I am Renewal. And we look forward to seeing you next Tuesday at Tea Time Tuesday. Have a wonderful day. And we'll see you next time. Let's take a pause real quick before we close out. Do a little reset here before we move into our next meetings. I have enough time that I can relax before my 1 o'clock. And I encourage you to do the same. See you next time.